Welcome to Anaheim Stadium for today's interdivision battle between the NFC Central Division leading Minnesota Vikings as they take on the improved Rams of the NFC West. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown. Well, Minnesota comes to town today desperately looking to jumpstart an offense that's produced only one passing touchdown in the last 5 games. Head coach Dennis Green is hoping the answer may be in backup quarterback Sean Salisbury making his first NFL start. My partner, ex-Washington Redskins offensive lineman George Starke. And George, kind of a homecoming for Sean Salisbury. He played some 90 minutes from here, but he's got a tough job ahead of him.
Well, while it's his first NFL start, he's not an untested rookie, having played well in relief for the Vikings this year. The key for him offensively might get getting the great Steve Jordan, the Minnesota tight end, involved in the offense. Defensively, Minnesota's just got to continue doing what they have been doing, taking the ball away and putting points on the board.
Despite a losing record of 4-7, the Rams are an improved team over last season, and head coach Chuck Knox is convinced that the turnaround of this franchise is on the right track.
The turnaround is on the right track, but they haven't been successful stopping the run. They've got some big young rookies in the middle, coupled with a weak linebacking core. They haven't stopped the run. If they're going to win today, they simply have to do so. Offensively, third down conversions are the key. Versus the 49ers last week, they were only 2 of 11. If they're going to win today, they've got to get better.
Wind could be a factor today. The Santa Ana winds in full force, up to 35 miles per hour. The kicking game and certainly the passing game may be affected. Long time since the last Rams victory, that coming back in 1985. And Minnesota has won the coin toss and will receive, as you take a look at Tony Zendejas, counting to make sure he's got his full complement of teammates out on the field as they get set to kick off. Back deep for the Vikings, it's Darren Nelson. And Keith Henderson also back there with him as well. Nelson is the 5th leading kickoff returner in the NFC. Windy afternoon here in Anaheim. And we're set here on CBS between the Vikings and the Rams. And Zendejas gets us underway. And it's Henderson from the 2. And Henderson with a nice return for the Vikings across the 30. Ball will be spotted near the 32. Sean Salisbury getting his first NFL start. 4-year NFL pro. And he's got a solid offensive line in front of him, including a very strong left side to that line. Kirk Loudermilk has a pretty tough task today against the youngsters. Backs and receivers Terry Allen, less than 300 yards away from a 1,000-yard rushing season. Hassan Jones back in the lineup, coming off of injured reserve. 1st and 10 for the Vikings. Salisbury, the pass on first down, throws it complete on the comeback route that time. The pass completed to Anthony Carter. You heard me mention Loudermilk with a pretty tough job today. He's got some youngsters he's facing. One of those guys, Sean Gilbert, 1st-round draft pick, 3rd overall. Part of that rookie twin tackle combination of Mark Boutte and Sean Gilbert. Peel and Robinson on the corners. Linebacking core, Larry Kelm in the middle, Kevin Green, Roman Pfeiffer. And the secondary, Light, Bailey, Newman, and Pat Terrell. On 2nd down, on the ground. And an excellent run by Terry Allen. Allen 5'11", just under 200 pounds, but he runs awfully hard. A gain of 8, and that was enough for a 1st down. So, George, you mentioned at the top, it's going to be very important 3rd downs for both teams, and the Vikings off to a good start.
Well, that's Sean Gilbert, the big fella, 300 pounds, in the middle of your screen. Tries an arm tackle, doesn't execute it very well. Terry Allen gets through that hole. First lesson there, no matter how big you are, no matter how strong your arms are, you got to get that body in the tackle and wrap up.
There's Sean Gilbert, listed at about 315 pounds. I think he may be a bit more.
Could be a bit more. He's a big fella, and he runs very, very well.
Ball marked at the 42 in this Rams defense. Boy, talk about a tough season. Last against the rush in the NFL.
Well, 146 yards a game average against them. As we said in the opening, you can't win that way. They simply have to get better, and they thought the beginning was getting these big guys in the middle of their defensive line.
2 tight end formation for the Vikings. 1st and 10, ball at the 42. On the ground, Allen dropped. Nice hustle on the part of Mark Boutte, the other rookie tackle for the Rams. Rookie out of LSU.
These are the 2 young pups, as they're called in the middle. Boutte is at the bottom of your screen, number 96, slices inside. Now that's what we call arm tackling, when you wrap your arms. Two young guys, number 90, number 96, you see them in your screen. They are probably going to be the key today for the Rams defensively.
A loss of 1 on a play makes it 2nd and 11. Hassan Jones and Steve Jordan. Now 3 wide receivers for the Vikings. On the draw, Allen. And Allen is wrapped up and dropped. And I tell you, the young fellas, that's Sean Gilbert. Gilbert and Boutte looking impressive thus far.
You know, if there's any criticism at all of number 90, Sean Gilbert, who you see in your screen, and Mark Boutte, number 96, it's that versus the pass, they have a tendency to rise up and rush standing up rather than take advantage of their leverage and size. That time, Boutte stood up, missed a tackle, but his buddy Sean Gilbert was there.
Gain of only 1 brings up a 3rd and 9. Nickel defensive package in for the Rams. Salisbury to pass, complete to Steve Jordan. First down for the Vikings, down near the 30 of the Rams. A 27-yard pass play. And George, you mentioned at the top, important to involve that all-important tight end, Steve Jordan.
Get the tight end involved, get Steve Jordan involved, but for Sean Salisbury, of course, also a young fellow that's get the butterflies out of your stomach, complete a couple passes. The tight end is always a good guy to go to because it's always going to be across the middle in that just beyond the hook zone. Nicely executed play.
Allen the lone back on 1st and 10. Allen the ball carrier, and Allen no gain on the play as he runs into a Ram wall that time. Will bring up a 2nd and 10. Sean Gilbert leading the way with that wall. Chuck Knox, 20th year as a head coach in the NFL, 30 seasons overall in the NFL. And there's Dennis Green, first-year head coach with the Minnesota Vikings, a no-nonsense coach who's got this team headed in the right direction.
He's got him going in the right direction, and he's shown that he doesn't mind benching or trading or cutting veterans if they can't live up to their reputations.
Salisbury going to the air, incomplete. Intended receiver was Chris Carter. And Chris Carter looking to get involved a bit more as well. The previous spot showed a gain of 1. Welcome to those of you who've been watching the Chicago-Cleveland game. We're here in Anaheim, California, a battle between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. James Brown along with George Starke, no score. 3rd and 9. Vikings at the 30 of the Rams. Salisbury, pass to Allen. First down, Vikings. Allen still on his feet. Tackled at the 2-yard line. Terry Allen finally brought down by Steve Israel. A 28-yard play. And the Vikings, ball spotted at the 1.
Well, that's the way for a young guy to get his first drive going. You don't have to execute a long pass downfield. This is a little screen to the left. You see the blockers out there. That's your guard and center. The ball is thrown to Terry Allen, follows his interference, cutbacks across the field. Nice play. That goes. Now we're in the big red formation, JB.
1st and goal. Allen, the ball carrier. And there's a signal. Touchdown, Minnesota Vikings. Terry Allen with the score. 8th rushing touchdown of the season as he ran behind Randall McDaniel. And certainly, Denny Green has to be pleased with what's happening thus far.
That's the big red formation, JB. That's when Randall McDaniel, number 64, the left guard, goes into the backfield and becomes a blocking back. Makes the play. When you have a guy that's his size, 6'3", 280, leading you into the end zone, difficult not to get there. Nice play.
Juan Reve's on for the point after, and he nails it. Reve's 35 of 35 on point afters to finish up that touchdown run by Terry Allen. Vikings on top. Vikings strike on their opening possession and drive, lead the Rams 7-0, 10:23 left in the first quarter of play. And there's George Dyer, the defensive coordinator of the Rams. And boy, I tell you, opening drive, he is hoping this doesn't turn out to be a long day.
Well, we spoke in the open about their need to stop the run. It seems that the Minnesota Vikings weren't afraid of those big guys. They ran up the middle and they ran the little screen to the outside. when you're a defensive coordinator and they don't mind running inside and outside, you're hoping it's not going to be a long day.
You see his defense has not gotten the job done thus far. That graphic showing 82-14. The Rams have been outscored in first quarter action thus far this season. From the 6, Vernon Turner. And Turner upended at about the 24-yard line, hit hard. So the Rams will take over. Jim Everett at the helm, having himself a strong season. Mostly with the short passing game. As we take a look at some scores from earlier today. Boy, Washington crushed Phoenix 41-3.
Boy, they needed it.
These are final scores. Boy, Atlanta up. No 3-game winning streak for the New England Patriots. And New Orleans over Miami. Defense played strong there. Talk about a strong defense. There's one on the field now in the Vikings. 1st and 10 for the Rams. All at their own 24. Out of the eye. On the ground, Gary hesitated for a second and went ahead for about 2. Should bring up a 2nd and 8. Mike Merriweather on the stop. Jim Everett has not thrown an interception in his last 66 passes. Big offensive line there. Bern Brostick, many guys tease, say he's the best holder in the league. Jackie Slater, 17 years. Backs and receivers, Cleveland Gary having himself an outstanding year. David Lang, a real find for Chuck Knox, Willie Anderson, and Henry Ellert, the wide receivers. 2nd and 8. And Henry Thomas decided to keep coming across. We'll find out whether he was pulled off sides or not.
Normally, JB, in a circumstance like this, you've got 2nd and long. Minnesota is thinking it's a passing situation. They want to get to the passer to Everett as quickly as possible, and they could be just a little bit jumpy.
Our referee today, Ed Hockley.
Encroachment prior to the snap on the defense, number 97. 5-yard penalty remains 2nd down.
So Henry Thomas did not have an argument. This has really, truly been one offensive defense for the Vikings this season.
Well, they put a lot of points on the board. The nice thing about a team, when you have this defensive line and your offense isn't scoring, you think, well, heck, we'll score the points. Someone's got to score. We're all on the same team.
Jack Del Rio, leading tackle on the team with 98, and a solid secondary. On 2nd down, Gary runs into his own man, slowing up his forward progress. Looked a little raggedy first couple of plays.
Little raggedy, but the penalty helped them out. They picked up 5 yards on 1st down without actually running a play, so now it's 3rd and short. When you're 3rd and 2, you've got options. It's a pass down. You can also run the football. That's the situation that puts the pressure on the defense. Stay out of 3rd and longs. Don't let the Dolmans and company come back and try to put your quarterback out of the game. This way, the onus is on. The offense has the opportunity to do whatever it wants to do.
As you mentioned at the top last week, the Rams 2 of 11 on 3rd down. This is a 3rd and 1. The pitch to Lang. And Lang runs hard and looks to have the 1st down with plenty to spare. David Lang tackled by Al Noga. Lang, a 2nd-year player out of Northern Arizona, 5'11", 201. A very quick and determined ball player.
And explosive. Chuck Knox, and you and I have talked to him many times about David Lang. He says David Lang, even though he's smaller than Cleveland Gary, is his blocking fullback because he plays with a lot of explosion and intensity. The kind of guy that in the future could be the back for the Rams to take them to the next level.
1st and 10, ball at the 36, 7:53 left in the first quarter play. Vikings on top, 7-0. Everett to pass with time and drills it complete. The big tight end Carter has the 1st down. Pat Carter out of Florida State, 6'4", 250, and boy, was he lumbering forward. A 20-yard pass play from Everett to Carter.
When you have plenty of time to throw the ball, good things happen. Jackie Slater at the top of your screen is blocking on number 99, Al Noga. Al Noga, who's famous for his speed. That's Jackie Slater, 17-year veteran, rides him past the pocket, just sets him down and says, hey, son, you're not getting anywhere today.
Slater headbutted him.
Hey, a little headbutt, too? We talked about that with Jackie. When you get older, you get meaner.
You said he had a lot of tricks, but I've never seen that one. 1st and 10, ball at the 49. Everett back to pass again and drills it complete for yet another 1st down. Everett that time finding Henry Ellert. Ellard with his 28th catch of the season.
That's a fight, JB. That's Gerald Perry and Chris Doleman. Doleman's a little upset. Defensive ends, especially right defensive ends, famous for getting to the passer. When they get blocked, they get unhappy, and they say, you had to be holding them. Nobody could block me. That's what he's thinking. Hence, we got to have a fight. Nonetheless, a fine pass, well executed downfield.
Well, Chris Doleman is having himself a sensational season. After many folks thought that maybe he was heading downhill, Denny Green has found the spark in his game. Doleman with 12 sacks, and Chuck Knox has to be pleased with what the offense is doing right now.
That's Everett delivering the ball. Now that's Doleman, who's probably thinking they've got two guys on me, and I don't want to be blocked. Rams offensive line staying together as they should.
From the 34 of the Vikings on the ground, Cleveland Gary picking his holes and moving ahead. A 5-yard gain by Cleveland Gary, who's having himself a sensational year. And for an NFL Today update, let's take it back to New York and Greg.
All right, JB, at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, here it is. Steve Young to Jerry Rice, 22 yards, number 100 of his career. That ties in with Steve Largent for the most all time. 7-0, 49ers in the first, James.
All right, Greg, and I tell you the remarkable thing about Jerry Rice, he's done it in 8 seasons. He won't call himself the best of all time, but his peers certainly do. 2nd and 5. Ball at the 29 of the Vikings. Gary. And Gary didn't see the hole he liked, changed directions, and went ahead for 4 yards. Cleveland Gary, really a nice story. Chuck Knox showing an awful lot of confidence in him. And you know Gary had to be down coming off of the reputation of being a fumbler, but he's being given an opportunity and delivering.
He's a good back, and as Jackie Slater said, his skill is in reading the blocking mechanics of the offensive line in front of him. He likes to run the ball between the tackles, and he has good eyesight and vision in understanding where the hole will ultimately develop. But you're right, JB, Chuck Knox has hung with him, and he's proven he can be the guy.
3rd and 2, Robert Del Pino in the backfield. Activated after being on IR. Everett takes his time and throws it complete for the first down to Flipper Anderson. Jim Everett showing an awful lot of poise, hanging in there, and at a time when he could have had happy feet, he stayed patient.
Jim Everett has been playing with a high level of confidence. His personal coach, Ted Tallner, says when he feels that the players around him are executing, he plays better. Pass protection is fine. He knows and he feels confident his line can handle. The Rams have a fine pass-blocking offensive line. He hangs in there, delivers the ball.
1st and 10, ball at the 17. Rams marching. Everett. Does he catch it? Touchdown, Rams. Flipper Anderson. 4th receiving touchdown of the season for Anderson. That caught on Audrey McMillan.
Well, the Rams have shown they're going to make it a game today, JB. Minnesota comes out, drives down the field. When you got a young team, sometimes you can go in the tank. Not so today. This is Everett dropping back. Once again, plenty of time, delivers the ball. That's an in route. Touchdown. Well executed play. Pass blocking. Pass delivery, pass caught, touchdown.
Tony Zendejas, 24 of 24 on point afters, make it 25 of 25, and we've got a tie ball game. Flipper Anderson with that touchdown reception, and it's all knotted at 7 apiece.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Jeep and Eagle, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. And by Cotton Incorporated, for America's cotton growers. Cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Well, the folks here in sunny California have had something to cheer about as the Rams march down the field. 69 yards, make it 76 yards on the drive. It's all knotted up at 7 apiece. Zendejas. And Nelson takes it 5 yards deep, wisely decides to down it. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Vikings, ball at their own 20 when we come back to Anaheim Stadium.
You are watching the National Football League on CBS Sports.
7-all ball game here. 3:53 left in the first quarter of play. Richard and Shirley Salisbury, the parents of Sean Salisbury, here to watch with 30 relatives and friends, and they had to get ticket requests in early.
Well, he had to cut off his ticket request at Tuesday because he wanted to be able to focus on the game and not still be hustling tickets and getting tickets to family and friends by Friday.
Terry Allen to the right side, ahead for about a 4-yard gain. Will bring up a 2nd and 6. Well, it doesn't look as if getting the ticket request in early really did an awful lot for the parents of Sean Salisbury in terms of getting prime seats. I would say those are okay seats.
That's okay. When you got so many folks you got to get tickets for to do your best you can, they are a little high, though, for the folks. When I used to play in New York, my dad, who's from New Rochelle, New York, would have the whole town would want to go to Giant Stadium and watch me play. My boys out there.
And you paid for it.
Of course.
Salisbury was smart. I'm sure that was a good fiscal move as well, cutting off the request by Tuesday. 2nd and 6, all at the 24. Salisbury going up top, complete to Chris Carter for the first down. Carter run out of bounds at about the 46-yard line. Robert Bailey runs him out of bounds. Boy, Salisbury is not showing any butterflies at all.
No butterflies, and you also have to be impressed with his accuracy. He drops back. He's a pocket passer. He said he wasn't going to roll out. Delivers the ball right on the money. Once again, good pass protection, but he stays in there, and he looks awfully relaxed for a young man that hasn't played. This is being his first NFL start. Ready for the big time.
Chris Carter, glad to have him on right now, hauling in some passes. 1st and 10, ball at the 47. Two tight end formation. Salisbury back under pressure. Gets rid of it. Complete, and boy, Kevin Green delivered a hit on Terry Allen. And a loss on a play of 3. Green loving the hit.
Kevin Green made the big hit, but it's number 90, Sean Gilbert, who actually flushes Sean Salisbury out of the pocket. When you've got a runaway beer truck barreling down on you, want to get that ball out of there. He delivers the ball. Kevin Green delivers the hit.
A runaway what? Somebody thinks he looks awfully good in his uniform.
Well, that's Kevin Green. I'm talking about number 90, Sean Gilbert's got that runaway beer truck look. Bearing down on the quarterback.
2nd and 13. Salisbury complete to Chris Carter again. And Carter not much doing. Good pursuit by that Rams defense. Stopped that time by Sean Gilbert. You know, Sean Gilbert, I mean, look at how big he is, George, but he is all over the field.
We spoke to Tony Dungy, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, who only likes speed defensive linemen. He said this guy at 315 is still fast enough to play in my defense. He's 315 pounds, he's young, and he covers the field from sideline to sideline.
1:24 left in the first quarter play. Game all tied at 7 apiece. 3rd and 9. Not enough for the first down. The completion to Terry Allen. So the Rams defense holds. Vikings last week were only 3 of 12 on 3rd down conversions, and Denny Green certainly wanted to see some improvement there, thus the change in quarterback as well.
Even though they didn't get the first down, you still have to say that Sean Salisbury is playing well in his opening drive. He looks comfortable. He's delivering the ball. You don't get every 3rd down during the course of the game. Field position is very important. If they had to punt, they wanted to make sure they put the Rams as far back as possible. They will probably do so right now.
NFC's leading punter, Harry Newsom. The wind may play havoc with the kick. We'll see. Vernon Turner back at his own 10. Loses the handle on it, but gets it back and salvages it. Turner from the 13. Turner has a seam. And up to the 35-yard line. Vernon Turner with a superb return. A 33-yard punt, 22-yard return. A busy sequence for Harry Newsom.
Well, he drops the ball, but fortunately the ball bounces back up. He gets it downfield. Now they're thinking tackle the Rams deep in their territory. That's not the case because the play is broken by Vernon Turner. He gets it on a tackle. Uh-oh, make their uniform a little dirty. They may have to shower. Usually those guys don't shower, you know, JB.
26 seconds left in the first quarter. 1st and 10 Rams. Flag on the play. Complete to Flipper Anderson across the 40 up to about the 43-yard line. A gain of 7 on that pass play, but there is a flag. Al Noga ran him out of bounds. Or correct that, maybe Al Noga might have been the guy offsides there.
They're a little bit jumpy, JB. They want to make something happen. This has been a very aggressive defense, especially over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Offsides on the defense, number 99. The penalty is declined, brings up 2nd down.
And that was, in fact, Al Noga. 4 of 4, Jim Everett. You know, they've nicknamed him the Streak, and in fact, he has been that kind of a quarterback. 11 straight against the Giants, 14 straight against the Falcons, 13 straight against the Cards.
He is a streak passer. That's why the Vikings don't want him to get started. He could go 24 for 24.
He started pretty well thus far. 2nd and 3. On the ground to Gary. Gary trying to reverse. Nowhere to run that time. Good effort on the part of the Vikings and a loss of 2 on the play. There's the quickness of the Vikings, and Jenkins and Everett going at it. Jenkins said, hey, I didn't hear the whistle. I'm taught to continue until the play is whistled dead.
I like that Jim Everett stepping up the bat, though. There's Jim Everett. You don't often see quarterbacks take it on linebackers, staring them in the eye.
Well, what a nice way to end the first quarter of play. With
That's the end of the first quarter.
It's all tied at 7 apiece. Good first quarter of action here at Anaheim Stadium. Dennis Green's Vikings all tied with the Rams at 7. All tied up at 7 apiece, and boy, that defense of the Vikings, aggressive even when the whistle blows.
Aggressive, and they're trying to take the ball away. They've been taking the ball away all year. They think they should have more of their guys around the ball than you do. Increases their chances of getting it.
On 3rd and 5, incomplete. Everett was looking for Jim Price that time, and there were at least 2 Vikings, if not a third, in the vicinity.
And there was a tipped ball. Number 39, Carl Lee, almost got it. They believe that playing that zone defense they do, most interceptions come from tipped balls or overthrown passes. So they just want to have that receiver underneath, be in position, just like they were, to make the play if the ball comes off the hands. Carl Lee was there, didn't quite get it, but that's the play the Vikings like to make.
Don Brackett back to punt for the Rams. Anthony Parker back at his own 15 for the Vikings. And Brackett, it's a pretty decent one away. Parker pushed back to the 9. And Parker takes it across the 25 to the 26, tackled that time by Travis McNeil. A 50-yard punt, 17-yard return by Parker. Back in Anaheim in a moment. Seven-all ball game, 14:45 left in the second quarter of play. And both quarterbacks have been pretty doggone warm in the opening series here. Terry Allen scores on a 1-yard touchdown run as we take a look at the Vikings. 9 plays covering 69 yards, culminated with this Terry Allen 1-yard run for the score, and the Vikings go on top 7-0. Rams did answer back, and right now we've got a 7-all ball game. 1st and 10, ball at the 26. And the Vikings on the ground ahead for maybe about 4. Keith Henderson getting the nod, and that's because Roger Craig had arthroscopic surgery on that knee of his, partially torn ligament. So Craig out for at least a couple of weeks, and Henderson will see more play today.
Henderson will see more play, especially running the ball up the middle. He's a little bit bigger, sort of the more ideal back for the one-back offense.
2nd and 6 out of the I formation. On the ground again. Good hard churning for another 4-yard run by Henderson. Stopped that time by Roman Pfeiffer. And Henderson out of that San Francisco system. There's Roger Craig in the sunshades. And Denny Green really likes what he's brought to the ball club, not only in terms of his on-the-field production, but his attitude.
Well, he's a winner. He's a guy that's been there. He's been to a couple of Super Bowls. When you got those rings, those young guys want to be around you. They want to, like, find out what it took to get there. He's a leader. He's a leader, and he leads by example. You know, famous for his training techniques and his non-stop effort.
3rd and 2 for the Vikings. Henderson has the first down. And Henderson obviously taking good notes from Roger Craig as he bulls ahead for the first down.
The left guard, number 64, is considered to be one of the better athletes at offensive guard in the league. That's him pulling to the right. One of the problems that the Minnesota defensive line has is because they're so fast and they rely so much on speed, they overreact. That time, they all went with McDaniel, opened up a hole in the middle for the running back to get through.
On 1st and 10, complete to Anthony Carter. And Carter pushed out of bounds at the 47-yard line. A 6-yard pass play will bring up a 2nd and 4. And not a very pleasant week last week for Anthony Carter, who saw his 105-game consecutive streak with at least one reception come to an end.
Well, it came to an end, and that's a sad note for him, of course. I think that he would sacrifice that streak if his team can rise up today, and this will be the beginning of their trip to perhaps the Super Bowl. A trade-off, but a one he'd rather make.
2nd and 4. The Carter's to the near side, and flags on the play as Sean Gilbert that time made contact with the offense.
The big fella can jump off sides, but you just got to get back. You know, when you're...
Now, George, that's a load to try to bring back.
Well, encroachment by the defense, number 90, prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, first down.
I think they need a new word. That wasn't encroachment. I don't know what you would call that, but that's a load to bring back.
That's a big fella. And you know what? When you're that offensive guard and you're looking at that guy, first thing you think, it's nice if he jumps off sides because we get 5 yards. On the other hand, if he jumps off sides and accidentally hits you between the eyes, he may knock you out for the day. So it's a terrifying thing to have your hand down and have a guy like that jumping at you.
On 1st down, incomplete, just off of the outstretched hand of Chris Carter. And Carter took a shot that time, has not gotten up off of the field. And Carter is really feeling it down there. Todd Light was on the coverage. Hard to believe that Chris Carter was actually let go by the Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll check on the status of Chris Carter. We'll step aside and take a timeout back in Anaheim after this. Chris Carter, it seems to be okay, holding that right shoulder on 2nd and 10. Salisbury throws it complete for the first down to Hassan Jones. Salisbury, 9 of 11. That an 11-yard completion for 105 yards already as we take a look back to see what happened to Chris Carter on the last play.
It looked like when Chris Carter came down, he either landed on his shoulder or number 41, Todd Light's arm. A lot of times when you fall on a field like this, if you're not breathing right, it knocks the wind out of you. That's what could have happened, although it does look like a check in his shoulder.
Terry Allen on the handoff, and Allen trying to push ahead, maybe a yard on the play. 11:29 left in the first half of play. All tied up at 7 apiece. James Brown along with George Starke coming to you from Anaheim Stadium. An interdivision matchup between the Vikings, leading NFC Central Division, against the improved LA Rams. And we were talking about Chuck Knox going with the young guys. I guess he's really bitten the bullet saying, hey, these guys have got to learn on the job out there, Boutte and Sean Gilbert.
Both Sean Gilbert and the big fella, Mark Boutte, need a certain amount of snaps. They need to essentially to mess up enough times.
On a halfback option, Henderson throws it, touchdown pass to Terry Allen. Second receiving touchdown of the season for Allen. And give Henderson a little credit. Nice pass by Henderson.
Now maybe that's why Keith Henderson was put on the roster today. Coach Green said he wanted to mix things up. He wanted to get a score, have ball possession, but get a lead on these Rams in case Everett got hot. Keith Henderson going to the right, pulling up, delivering that ball downfield to Terry Allen. Not an easy thing to do. You've got to carry the ball as if you're going to run it, pull up, and then deliver a pass.
Wide Reve's on for the point after. And the Vikings, with a little razzle-dazzle, move out in front by a touchdown, 14-7. You say not an easy thing to do. Hey, that was a 36-yard touchdown pass. $14-7, Vikings on top, 10:52 left in the half to play. And Chuck Knox, not surprised with what Sean Salisbury's doing. He's familiar with him.
Well, when he was at Seattle, he had Sean Salisbury in camp as a free agent. Said he was a big kid with a good arm, right, had his head on straight, just got into a quarterback lob jam. Wasn't any way to keep him, had to let him go, which started his odyssey from Indianapolis to Canada, which if we get time we'll talk about later. Chuck Knox knows him well, so you kind of wish a young man well, but if you don't want to do this good against you.
Barbara Bays with the short one. Lang from the 4. And David Lang takes it up across the 20 to about the 23-yard line. 10:43 left in the first half of play. And Chris Carter, we saw him leave a little earlier over on the sideline, and report from the field is that he has a fracture going in that shoulder. Anthony Carter left limping a little earlier with a slight hamstring problem. So it was good news that the Vikings did reactivate Hassan Jones as you take a look at Chris Carter being taken off of the field.
They're going to be a little thin, but as you said, JB, at least Hassan Jones is back on the roster, so they have a chance.
First and 10 from the 22, Cleveland Gary. And Gary up ahead for a gain of about 3 near the 25. Cleveland Gary really has had to fight the reputation of being a fumbler. We did a game a few weeks ago where he fumbled 3 times in that ball game, and what a heartbreaking loss for the Rams. But he really has protected the ball pretty well, and he's run very well coming into the game also as a leading pass receiver for the Rams.
Well, when he was with Miami, that's primarily what he did, is catch the ball on those little flare passes out of the backfield, but he has concentrated on holding the ball by the pressure point and not fumbling. It's been successful the last couple of games for him.
Sack to Carlos Jenkins, second sack of the season for Jenkins as he dropped Everett. Jenkins, an undersized linebacker who obviously utilized his speed to his advantage.
Carlos Jenkins just comes clean. Nobody picks him up. It's not difficult to get there if nobody blocks you. I believe Pat Carter, the tight end, number 88, was the man who was supposed to block Carlos Jenkins. He was looking inside, took his eye off him, sacked. Pat Carter will hear about it from Chuck Knox.
Nickel defensive package in for the Vikings. Everett going up top. Overthrows the intended receiver, Henry Ellett. So Don Bracken comes on to punt for the Rams, and Chuck Knox obviously a little perturbed by that, seeing Everett go down. Only the 21st sack allowed this season by the Rams. Last season they had given up 30 by this point.
What would annoy Chuck Knox the most about a play like that is the fact that he had the right protection in the game. That should not have happened. Pat Carter, the tight end, simply didn't look at it.
Nearly blocked that time, but Bracken did get it away from the 45, Anthony Parker. And Parker leaping forward to about the 42.
That's number 17. That's Don Bracken, who barely gets the punt off. Does get it off, but almost blocked. Looks like it might have been partially tipped.
So it winds up a first and 10, ball at the 42 for the Vikings. Salisbury taking his time, lofting one. Misread the break of his receiver that time, Joe Johnson.
It looked like he expected Joe Johnson to turn up in sort of a deep corner route. Joe Johnson was running basically a sideline. He was heading to the sideline. Sean Salisbury thought he was going to break to the end zone. He didn't. Fortunately for Sean Salisbury, no interception on that. That's the kind of play balls get picked off on when they're overthrown.
Second and 10, 9-11 left in the first half of play. 3 wide receivers for the Vikings. Allen, the lone back. Salisbury drills it complete to the right side near the first down marker. Complete to Anthony Carter, about a half a yard shy of the first down marker.
What Sean Salisbury sees up top of your screen is that Todd Light is inching up. He's going back at the man-to-man coverage. He's by himself, so he's got to give Anthony Carter a certain amount of room. Sean Salisbury recognized that it was man-on-man coverage. Carter could drive him back and come back and get the ball. Good play.
The Vikings have not done well the last 4 games as you take a look at the numbers, but today the Vikings certainly seem to be out of that slump. Salisbury doing the job as he indicated he would. 3rd and 1, play action. Salisbury under pressure from Kevin Green. Throws an interception. Ball intercepted by Leon White, his 2nd interception of the season. But give the credit to Kevin Green for flustering him.
Sean Salisbury said he was not an effective passer if he had to do it on the run. Kevin Green is forcing him out of the pocket. Kevin puts the pressure on him, kind of has him in the grasp. He throws the ball. Big mistake there, but he said he was not the kind of guy that threw well under duress if he had to move around. And I think it's safe to say he was correct. He's not. Poor choice right here. Go down with the ball, take the sack.
The first interception in 4 weeks for the Rams. Rams take over at midfield. 8:16 left in the first half. All tied at 7 apiece. Everett just gets rid of it. Did he catch it in bounds? And he, in fact, did. No, the other official. One tried to blow it off. The other says it was, in fact, caught. So a 14-yard pass play for the first down as Everett paid the price on that one. Henry Ellard, nice job of keeping his feet in bounds.
Question is, you've got to tap those feet, catch the ball. They've got to drag those toes. The officials right on top of the play say he wasn't able to do it. Meanwhile, back behind the line of scrimmage, Jim Everett paid the price as Chris Dolman puts the hit on him. That's number 64, Gerald Perry. Couldn't quite keep Dolman out.
Put the hit on him, he collared him. 1st and 10. David Lang spinning his way ahead for about 3 yards. David Lang making something out of nothing that time, and as far as Chuck Knox is concerned, that's the measure of a good back, is what he does after he takes the first hit.
Chuck Knox said when you and I met with him the other day, he measures a back by what he does after he takes the initial hit. That if the hole is open to the river, he'll run to the river. It's when you're dragging guys with you that a back is measured. It's one reason he likes David Lang. Very explosive and intense.
From the 33 of Minnesota, 2nd and 7. 7:05 left in the first half of play. Everett completes a line, first down, and Lang spinning again. His trademark spin, picking up a couple of extra. $18-yard pass play, finally stopped by Vincey Glenn.
That's Everett. Everett, as we said earlier, was a streak passer. He's getting plenty of time. Delivers to David Lang on a little slant to the inside. That's his patented spin move, as you said, JB. Right now, Everett looks to be in that comfort zone that he gets in when he can go for a long time without any completion.
From the 14, 1st and 10. Ball is loose. Looks to have been recovered by Minnesota. And what an end to an impressive drive by the Rams.
Turnovers are a key factor for the Minnesota Vikings. They look for him. They try to get him. Everett looks like just didn't get the snap properly from the center.
First fumble recovery of the season by Mike Merriweather. 11th fumble loss of the season by the Rams. Mike Merriweather came up with the fumble recovery, and that is something that Minnesota excels at.
They excel at it because they practice it and they think about it going into the game. They want to hustle. Now that's Minnesota. They're tied for 3rd in the league in a takeaway margin with a +8. They believe that if they have more guys around the ball than you do, the odds are when the ball drops out, their guys will pick it up.
6:15 left in the first half of play. Minnesota ahead 14-7. And on the ground, Terry Allen scooting ahead for 4. And Terry Allen, while he has not had a 100-yard game since week 1, he certainly is doing the job overall coming into the game, needing less than 300 yards for a 1,000-yard rush season. So he has been effective.
Not only that, but what better team to try to regain your rushing ability against, but the team that's the worst versus the run in the league. Trying to rebuild their confidence. The Rams are a good place to start.
Good therapy, huh? On 2nd and 6, Salisbury, deep drop to Allen. And Allen trying to get to the first down marker. He's going to be shy about 3 yards. A pickup of 3. Roman Pfeiffer running them out of bounds.
JB, this is a little screen that goes to the left. The way a screen works, the quarterback drops back, pretends he's going to pass downfield, give time for his back to get open to get the ball, but he needs at least 2 linemen out in front of him to make blocks so he can get somewhere. No blocking, no place to go.
I was about to say, I didn't see any blockers there, which is why I didn't call it a screen. So a naked screen, huh? Same play again. And Allen wrapped up by Pfeiffer, but he looks to have the first down by at least a yard.
The same thing, the thing about that play which differentiates it from the previous play is that the back action was the same, but no lineman pulled out the block for him. Now, of course, you might say, JB, since they pulled out last time but didn't get the block, what the heck? They might as well stay inside. This time, just the back one out, little naked swing pass got the first down.
Denny Green made his decision early in the week, like Monday. I'm going with Salisbury. And he stayed with it, said he was not thinking about changing at all. Henderson. And Henderson, after going to the right, takes it ahead. A 5-yard gain by Keith Henderson. 4:15 left in the first half of play. And Larry Kelm, middle linebacker for the Rams, down, injured.
Well, that could be a major blow for the Rams. Their linebacking core is not a dominant one to begin with. Larry Kelm is not what you call a heavy thumper at middle linebacker, but he's a proficient guy. He's steady, he's hard working.
And he's also the signal caller for them.
He calls the signals, as you say, JB, and they can ill afford to lose a guy like that. What little success they have had against the run up the middle has come because Larry Kelm has been trying to hold his own.
Fred Strickland, you're taking a look at him. He is the backup at middle linebacker, 5th-year player out of Purdue, as we take a look to see where the injury occurred.
That's where he takes the hit. That's Larry Kelm down.
As they work on the ankle, Kelm hops up. We'll give you a report on our way back. Larry Kelm being tended to on the sidelines, looks to be okay. Back to live action, nearly intercepted. And Salisbury very, very fortunate at that time. Anthony Q. Newman had a bead on it. Newman tied for 3rd in the NFC with 4 interceptions, nearly had his 5th.
Sean Salisbury dodged the bullet on this. This is double coverage. He threw to the wrong man, throwing the ball to Hassan Jones. Hassan Jones is being covered short and deep, not the guy to go to with the ball. Sean Salisbury, very lucky. He didn't want to have to go to the sideline and explain that to Dennis Green.
I'll tell you what, Newman's going to have to explain that to his compatriots in the secondary. That certainly should have been an interception.
Anthony Q. Newman.
3rd and 5. Minnesota 4 of 6. 3rd down conversions. Big improvement over last week's 3 of 12 so far. Salisbury drills that one. Was it intercepted? It looks to have been. Bailey. And Robert Bailey takes it in for what appears to be a score, but there is a flag back at the 41-yard line. And the official is also indicating that he should have been down by contact back in midfield.
I think you're exactly right, JB. I think the interception will stand, but it's down by contact at about the 50-yard line.
The intended receiver was Joe Johnson.
The pass is ruled incomplete.
I stand corrected.
Wow.
But Sean Gilbert looks to be down around the 35-yard line. I believe that is the big fella, Sean Gilbert.
And Hockey Lee will sort it out for us.
The pass was ruled incomplete. It hit the ground. It was an illegal block on the play by the offense. 15-yard penalty. Repeat, third down.
So the pass is incomplete and is an illegal block by the offense. Maybe we can take a look at it from this angle, although it's a little bit difficult to see. A little bit high from that angle. But what we do know is that the officials have called an illegal block by the offense, which puts the ball way back.
And the net effect, incomplete pass. Robert Bailey does not get his third interception. Remains Minnesota ball. Ball at their own 27, 3:54 left in the first half of play. Vikings on top of the Rams, 14-7. 3rd and 20. And there is still some confusion down here, and I'm going to have to wait for the ref to explain this one
Brings
as
up
well.
fourth down.
That's right. You know what? The penalty was that decline?
The penalty was
So that would make it a fourth down then. Okay. Well, the players thought it was third down as well.
They all went down and lined up. Someone alerted them to the fact they could turn down the penalty, take the play, and now it's fourth down.
Denny Green probably should have gotten that squad out there to run that play quickly.
Good thinking, JB.
Vernon Turner back awaiting this Harry Newsom punt. And this is an excellent one. And Turner, my goodness. Now, George, I thought most punt returners are told, I mean, it's drilled into their head, if it's beyond the 10, let it go. My goodness, inside the 10, let it go. A 58-yard punt.
I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he lost track of where he was on the field. Normally, you don't feel a punt inside the 10-yard line. You let it go into the end zone, take a touchback.
Next Sunday, there's regional action on CBS Sports. Games include Detroit versus Green Bay or Minnesota versus Philadelphia. That's followed by Dallas versus Denver. Emmitt Smith trying to point the Cowboys to another Super Bowl. And my goodness, never count out perhaps the greatest comeback quarterback since Roger Staubach. That'll be coming your way next week. Incomplete as we come back to live action. 3:40 left in the first half. It'll be 2nd and 10 for the Rams. Intended receiver was Flipper Anderson.
Everett dropped back that time. He was looking downfield, but number 51, Carlos Jenkins, is all over him in his face. Doesn't make the sack, but makes it impossible to see his receiver and deliver the ball downfield. No passing lane on that one.
On 2nd and 10. And Everett throws it complete for the first down over to Henry Eller. Audrey McMillan on the coverage, pushing him out of bounds with an 18-yard pass completion to Eller.
The nice thing about that play by Jim Everett is as he dropped back, he looked to the right. Defensive backs will tell you that it's impossible for a quarterback to look them off. Not so. That time he looked to the right, knew Henry Eller was to his left, getting open, and then turned and delivered the ball.
Well, why would cornerbacks say that then?
They hate to admit they can get looked off. They say eventually at some point he's got to look at the guy he's going to throw the ball to, but when he did, it was too late for them to recover.
Point well taken. 1st and 10 on the ground. And a gain of only 2 on the ground that time by David Lang, and Lang a little slow in getting up.
That's number 97 in the middle of your screen, who's facing us from the opposite direction, Henry Thomas, who's helmet to helmet with number 61, Bernd Brostek. His job is to use up 2 blocks, which is what he does. The Minnesota Vikings play a one-gap defense. He wants to use up 2 guys, he doesn't.
And Everett, under pressure that time, overthrew the intended receiver, David Lang. You know, we were looking at that replay, and certainly we all know the defense that made it famous back in the 70s, the steel curtain. But now, George, was that not clearly in the neutral zone? I mean, how much more could he have been there over the ball without it being called?
JB, you ask a very, very good question, and offensive linemen are always upset by that because basically there's a 1-yard neutral zone. You should not be able to encroach on the neutral zone. You certainly shouldn't be able to touch helmets, but they don't call it all the time.
Henry Thomas's best side, I guess, was blocking the view of the officials. On 3rd down, Everett looking for Anderson, complete for the 1st down. Forward progress will take him down to the 25, and there's a flag on the play. Maybe Carl Lee had a face mask. A 35-yard pass play.
That's Flipper. He's feeling pretty good right now. Big play downfield. Willie Flipper Anderson. That call is probably a face mask. When it's an inadvertent one, it happens a lot when you have 2 guys, especially trying to tackle one little man.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 39. 15-yard penalty, half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
And that one is on Carl Lee.
I was wrong. It's not an inadvertent face mask. It's a personal foul. That's 15 yards. That's a bonehead play for a defensive back. You've already been beaten. You've already given up some yardage. The last thing you need to do is add 15 yards to it. The officials make the determination about whether it was accidental or intentional. They say it's intentional. Extra 15 yards. Not a smart thing to do by number 39, Carl Lee.
Ball at the 13, 1st and 10. 2:05 left in the first half of play. Eller in motion. And Everett, what a dangerous pass as he threw it in the direction of Chadwick, but Carlos Jenkins nearly had the interception. So we're at the 2-minute mark of the first half as Everett comes over to discuss things. Rams trailing by 7. (14-7). This is not what Chuck Knox will be looking for from Everett.
The Rams want to get back in this game. They want to tie the score. The last thing they need to do is have a turnover. This is a tipped ball, the kind of ball that the Vikings have made a living intercepting. The Rams want to keep the ball in their possession, get to the end zone, tie this game.
2nd and 10 from the 13 of the Vikings. Incomplete, no flag on the play. Henry Ellert wanted interference, so does Everett, but there was no flag. Mike Merriweather over the top of Ellert that time.
A lot of jawboning down there. That's number 57, Mike Merriweather, who feels that he played it right. Everett doesn't think so, thinks there should be an interference call. The officials feel good play. A lot of yelling at each other as they get close to the end zone.
3rd and 10. Rams, 3 of 5. 3rd down conversions today. Incomplete. Ball should have been caught by Chadwick for a touchdown. That ball was right there.
That's Chadwick in the slot. Comes up, goes, breaks inside. The ball is delivered. A little bit hard to catch. Nonetheless, that's why guys get paid. You got it. When you get it on your hands, you got to try to pull it in. When you hit the ground, you're going to take the hit. That's why you're in pro football, not in college football. Got to catch that ball.
And I think most receivers coaches would say if you get a hand on the ball, that ball should be caught. And Chadwick should have had that one, and he knows it. Minnesota calls a timeout, leaving the Vikings with 2. Los Angeles has 3 timeouts remaining.
That's Dennis Green. He's thinking right now, well, we could have lost 7 on that. We'll probably have to give up 3 here, but better to give up 3 than have those guys have scored a touchdown. So Dennis Green, while he's not 100% happy, is thinking I could have dodged a bullet in a certain sense.
So this will be a 30-yard field goal attempt by Tony Zendejas. He's 10 of 14 on the season. From this range, he's 5 of 6. Make it 6 of 7 from that range as Tony Zendejas boots the Rams to within 4. Next Saturday, college basketball returns with their premier matchup for the season's premiere. Indiana, fresh off of capturing the preseason NIT championship, will tackle number 2 ranked Kansas, a game that could very well be a preview of a Final Four matchup. Action will take place in front of a packed Hoosier Dome that's coming your way next Saturday, right here on CBS. Then we talked to George at the top of the show about the Santa Ana winds, full force, windy up top, but not a factor down on the field so far in the first half. 1:45 left in the first half of play. Minnesota on top 14-10. Zendejas set the kickoff. From the 6, Darren Nelson. Nelson takes him across the 20 to about the 24. That timeout called by Minnesota earlier was for an injured player, Todd Scott. So Minnesota left with 2 timeouts, the Rams with 3, as we take a look at scores from earlier games around the league. New York Jets went back to O'Brien at quarterback to no avail. Kansas City blitzes in 23-7, and Cleveland knocking off Chicago 27-14.
That Cleveland team has really come a long way this year.
6-6 on the season. Salisbury throws it to Allen. And Terry Allen, first down. Terry Allen across the 35 out to about the 38. Terry Allen showing his versatility. 1:25 left in the first half of play, and there's a player down, a Ram, and that's Sammy Lilly, and he is in pain. So Chris Carter has gone out with a fractured bone in the shoulder, we hear. Anthony Carter playing with a slight hamstring pull. Todd Scott left the field for the Vikings. And Sammy Lilly is down for the Rams. Larry Kelm also was helped off earlier. So the Rams will have to take a timeout as well, a 40-second injured player timeout.
That's Lilly in the middle of your screen. He's just diving down. Kind of falls. It looked like he might have been kicked by Terry Allen, but I don't think so. Sometimes you can fall wrong, and we've seen enough players hurt just twisting ankles and twisting knees when you try to stop and start and turn and make a tackle, and that's what might have happened to number 27, Sammy Lilly. Nice screen run to the right by Minnesota.
Lilly up under his own power.
Taking another look. That's Lilly right now in the center of your screen. He goes down. He's trying to make a tackle. He misses the tackle. Looks like he really might have got kicked. You've got 2 guys, number 64, Randall McDaniel, who kind of jumps over him, and then Terry Allen, number 21, jumps over him. Somewhere in there, he might have caught a foot.
So Chuck Knox is looking at a squad where he was already a little short in the secondary, and now he's even shorter in terms of healthy players. Darrell Henley hurt his shoulder last week, a bruised AC joint. So Steve Israel, the rookie out of Pittsburgh, is in. 1:25 left in the first half of play. 1st and 10. Joe Johnson in motion. Salisbury, deep drop. Complete. Out of bounds at the 45. Joe Johnson. A 6-yard pass play. Joe Johnson last week celebrating his first receiving touchdown of his NFL career.
And we spoke with Robert Bailey, who's starting today for Darrell Henley, who said that he thought number 89, Joe Johnson, was a legitimate deep threat and maybe the deep threat on the Vikings roster today.
2nd and 4, 1:20 left in the half. Salisbury drills it complete, enough for the first down, and a good second effort on the part of Steve Jordan. 10-yard pass play, and there's the man nicknamed Ivy. Talk about a very durable player.
Well, let's talk about Ivy first, since you brought it up. Went to Brown University. Durable, fast hand, good hands, and a good blocker.
Terry Allen with some good blocking and good running. Terry Allen hauling the pass in. Terry Allen already with career highs in receiving and yardage. His 8th catch. And that a 9-yard pass play, so he's got 98 yards in the first half. Both career highs. Allen on the ground. And it looks like Allen may have enough for the first down.
Sean Salisbury is executing this 2-minute drive like a veteran who's been around for 10 years. You've got to chip away in the offense, get some runs in there, deliver some passes to the sideline, stop the clock, come back, throw the ball over the middle, call a timeout, get the ball back, throw the ball to the sideline, stop the clock. You need to move the chains, possess the ball, keep your eye on the clock, and handle your timeouts well. He's doing a fine job for a quarterback starting his first game.
And as he said before, I'm not a rookie. I've waited a long time for this. 84 Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton, now a professional, and 92 Olympic silver medalist Paul Wiley, an amateur, will face each other for the first time ever, along with other top-flight amateurs and pros at the Chrysler Concord Pro-Am Figure Skating Challenge. Yesterday in the ladies competition, Nancy Kerrigan took top honors. So that'll be coming your way, Olympic Winterfest, right here on CBS. Well, Salisbury said he's waited a long time, took a very circuitous route to become a starter in the NFL after playing his college ball at USC. Complete. Salisbury finds Keith Henderson. Out of bounds inside the 30 to the 28, a 5-yard pass play. Smartly taking it out of bounds, stopping the clock with 26 seconds remaining.
Just what we were speaking about, JB. He used up about 5 seconds off the clock, picked up 5 yards, got the ball to Keith Henderson, went out of bounds. That's how a 2-minute drill is executed.
And certainly they're within field goal range for Quad Reves. Boy, what a haul in that time by Joe Johnson, who tried to crawl out of bounds, did not make it. So the clock will continue, and there is a late flag, perhaps for a late hit.
This is a great catch by Joe Johnson, who catches the ball, and he's trying to get out of bounds, trying to get there. Couldn't quite get there. The hit is made inbounds, which keeps the clock moving, but there's a penalty back behind the line of scrimmage.
A holding penalty, that will move it back.
Holding on the offense, number 76. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
And that's on the 12th-year veteran, Tim Irwin, out of Tennessee.
As Tim Irwin is on the right side of your screen, number 76. He kind of jumps out at the defensive end, recognizing he's going to get beat inside, just grabs him. Clean, simple, holding.
2nd and 15. Salisbury throwing on the run, nearly picked off. The intended receiver that time was Hassan Jones, who was down, and Darrell Henley certainly had a shot at an interception there.
John Salisbury thinks that this is defensive interference. He rolls to his left. Now, we spoke that he's not the kind of guy that likes to throw on the run, but he wants to get away from the pass rush. Delivers the ball. Oh, he may have a good case.
He's got an excellent case there.
I think he's got a case. That's Hassan Jones, who clearly gets pushed out of the way. No flag, though.
Salisbury has an excellent case, but maintains his poise. 3rd and 15. Ball at the 38. Play action, a boot. Salisbury drills it complete to Anthony Carter, and Carter, talk about running a precise route for the first down, 2 yards beyond the first down marker.
That's Anthony Carter at the top of your screen, and he's isolated on Todd Light. Todd Light doesn't want to give up a touchdown, so he drives him off. He comes back to the football, tap, tap, possession, out of bounds. You can't ask more than that from a receiver and a quarterback on a play in a 2-minute drill.
Now, there are those who thought that maybe Anthony Carter was looking in the rearview mirror as far as his career is concerned. No way. Looking good in the first half. 5 seconds remaining as Squad Revez comes on for a 38-yard field goal attempt. Ball is down, it's up. And there's a signal, it's good. Revez giving Green and the Vikings a bit more breathing room as the Vikings move out in front by a touchdown, 17-10. A touchdown and a successful point after. 1 second remaining. And don't forget, coming up at halftime, it'll be Greg Terry and Matt Millen in the NFL Today studio. They'll be bringing you up to date with scores and highlights. Boy, I tell you, Redskins or ex-Redskins predominate. George Starke, the ex-head hog of the Washington Redskins. Matt Millen, never known to be a quiet type when he played middle linebacker at all.
TV is the right business for Matt Millen. We used to play, I remember playing against Matt the first time when he was with the Raiders.
Okay.
And they beat us in the Super Bowl down in Tampa, and they played a heck of a game, and we didn't. But all I remember is this linebacker who just talked nonstop from the beginning of the game right through the game. And he wasn't saying ugly things and mean things. He was just talking, saying funny things.
And, you know, he seems to be such a mild-mannered guy off the field. Greg Gumbel has had to play referee in the studio between those guys, Bradshaw and Miller. They'll all be coming your way at halftime. We've got 1 second remaining here. And, George, while we've got some time, again, let's go back to what we talked about at the top. Sean Salisbury looking to jumpstart a Vikings offense that was anemic, 1 passing touchdown in the last 5 games. He certainly has done the job here.
He's done the job throwing from the pocket, which is what he supposedly is, a pocket passer, but we also saw that in executing the 2-minute drill, he didn't mind becoming a rollout passer. He rolled to the left, threw a nice ball, rolled to the right, got his man downfield enough to get the 3 points. So he certainly has, as you said, jump-started this Minnesota offense.
And Revez with the squiver there, and to avoid a long run back, and finally tackled, Brent Novoselsky dropping with the tackle that time. So that's the end of the first half. Halftime activities will continue as the Vikings lead the Rams 17-10. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
CBS sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Fruit of the Loom, a leader in quality apparel, fitting America for more than 50 years. And by Citizen Watches. Citizen, we've got elegance. CBS sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Pontiac and your nearby Pontiac dealers. We are driving excitement. Canon Cameras, photographic consultant to the National Football League. And by Keystone, Keystone Light, and Keystone Drive.
Getting set for the third quarter of action as Squad Revez gets set to kick off. Minnesota on top 17-10. And certainly Chuck Knox could not have been pleased with what he was discussing at halftime. His team only 21 rushing yards. They're a little below the NFL average anyway per game with 101 yards on the ground. Only 21 on the ground in the first half. And Vernon Turner wisely decides to down it, touchback. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 20 for the Rams as we get set to play the third quarter of action. Jim Everett, 9 of 16 for 149 yards, 1 touchdown, has been in a pretty decent groove, but the pressure has gotten greater on him as Minnesota seemingly finding the answer, if you will, along that offensive line of the Rams.
Well, you've also got to run the football. You can't just pass it. They've got so few rushing yardage that the defense is no longer playing the run. They're just teeing off on the pass. They've got to have to run the ball. They need more balance.
Gary, the lone back, 1st and 10 from the 20. Gary, ball carry, and hit hard. My goodness, Todd Scott hit him right at the line of scrimmage, although Gary did lean ahead for a couple. We'll give him credit of just one, a 1-yard gain by Cleveland Gary, and give a lot of credit to Todd Scott.
Todd Scott comes up and makes the play. Now, Cleveland Gary, we know, likes to run up the middle. Difficult to see the total blocking scheme from that angle, but David likes to run up the middle. They're giving him the ball. They might have had a meeting at halftime saying, what do you want? Where do you want to run the ball? You up the middle, we'll give it to you.
2nd and 9. Everett to pass. Incomplete, threw it low. The intended receiver was Jim Price, but that ball was thrown low. As you take a look at Everett picking himself up off of the ground, and there's a Ram player still down on the turf. Gerald Perry. Well, as you mentioned before, again, with no running game, my goodness, that D line of the Vikings, they can just tee off on them.
The Rams did not want to get themselves in a lot of long yardage situations. When you can't run the football, then you have a lot of 2nds and 9s, you know, 2nd and 10. And of course, the Minnesota Vikings are just going to tee off on you. That's Randall. Oh, Randall hits Perry in the back. Perry bends back over. That's the kind of thing that your leg gets caught underneath you. And of course, the defensive player gets a little extra shove on you when you're down. It's just their personality.
Well, actually, Dolman, realizing when Perry apparently screamed that time, he kind of eased up on him just a bit. Nice sensitivity being displayed by the defensive player that time.
That's Randall in there. Looks like his left ankle is getting turned back underneath. Kind of a squish. I think you're right, JB. The Dolman does pull up and tries to help him up a little bit there at the end. When you have that much weight, you know, Gerald Perry is 6'6", 305 pounds. When that weight starts to go back on you, it all kind of centers on your ankle. It looks like that might have been what happened.
And Gerald Perry's backup is Robert Jenkins, a 7th-year player out of UCLA. We saw a shot of, there's Jenkins. 6'5", 285. So giving away a few pounds at that position. Rams really have seen a number of their players getting nicked today. Gerald Perry, the latest. And good to see him able to put some pressure on that leg. That's a big man.
Big man is the very least. Like 6'6", 305 pounds. Good to see him walking off, though.
You know, it was interesting. We saw a shot of Chuck Knox there. I really get the impression that he's like a little field general out there, maybe a drill sergeant. And the guys really do love him. They just don't want to hear him compliment them too much, and that's a little strange.
Chuck Knox, you know, when he starts talking about you too good, that means usually he's setting you up and you're out of there. Either he wants you to look good and sound good for another team because he wants to trade you, or he just doesn't want you to leave the team feeling too bad about yourself.
He's one guy they only want to hear a few words from. How are you doing? That's it. Everett going up top for the home run ball. Complete drop. My goodness, for a second, the ball had been caught by Henry Ellert, and then he dropped it as he was backpedaling.
It looked as though Henry Ellert was surprised that the ball hit him clearly in the midsection. This is Henry Ellert turning inside. The ball is right there. Never had it, but should have had it. Looks like he was a little surprised at just the cleanness and the delivery that Jim Everett delivered on that ball that time.
Don Bracken on to punt. Anthony Parker standing back at the 33. Not a good one at all. And it will roll to about the 36. Bracken more than a little upset with that 43-yard punt. Take a look again at Salisbury's parents sitting there. They went to dinner with him last night. Now, this is the kind of athlete that they saw. This is the athlete they remember from high school days when he played at Orange Glen High School and was voted as San Diego Male Athlete of the Year.
Well, he's from this area, the Escondido area, and he went to play in Hollywood last night. I just hope that he got in early. I know he did because he's playing such a good game today.
Well, Kenny Stabler didn't adhere to that kind of a regimen, and he played pretty good game.
Well, it's a different time, JB.
Terry Allen showing his time to do it on the ground as Terry Allen runs for the first down. An 11-yard scamper by Terry Allen, run out of bounds by Gerald Robinson. And you mentioned Randall McDaniel at the top being probably the best athlete on this Viking squad. He shows some of his mobility here on this play.
Well, Coach Dennis Green, head coach Dennis Green, said Randall McDaniel is one of the best athletes he's ever seen. That's him getting a cut block, which allows Terry Allen time to get around the corner, and that was on Robert Young. When you go low and around the knees, you keep those feet moving, he can't get out of there.
To Allen again. 11th carry of the ball game for Allen, a pickup this time of about 3. So 11 carries for 39 yards on the afternoon for Terry Allen.
You know, JB, he's also caught a touchdown pass today. That great when Keith Henderson delivered halfback kind of option that he optioned to throw the ball to Terry Allen. They seem to be running more to the right behind Tim Irwin, blocking on number 97, Gerald Robinson. Maybe they feel the mismatch is in the Vikings' favor over there.
On 2nd and 7. Out to Allen again, and Allen has another first down. Well, you continue to milk it until it runs dry, and right now Terry Allen is delivering. Run out of bounds by Robert Bailey. 12:45 left in the third quarter play. Minnesota on top, 17-10.
That's Tim Irwin, blocker on number 97, Gerald Robinson, pushes him down. Little swing pass. With a tackle, when you push down that defensive end, you have to give him that last look of disdain. You know the coaches are going to like that in the film.
Out of the I formation, 1st and 10. Ball at the 37 of the Rams. And this is Henderson. And Henderson inside the 35. Big Mike Tice providing a little blocking. Mike Tice is one of the biggest human beings I've seen in a while.
Mike Tice was with the Washington Redskins briefly. He's the other half of the 2 tight end tandem when they run 2 tight ends and they did H-back. Steve Jordan becomes the H-back and Mike Tice goes into the tight end. But what's interesting here is that they feel very comfortable running right and left against this Ram defense.
2nd and 6. Henderson. And Henderson with the first down run inside the 25, and the Rams displaying why they are last in the league against the rush.
That's number 96, Boutte on the center. Number 63, Kurt Loudermilk. Kurt just pushes the big fellow to the left, makes him go behind, knowing that he can't catch the play from that side. Boutte's got to hustle a little bit more. Maybe that's why they're ranked so low against the run.
But now Boutte tied up 2 guys that time. That's where that linebacking core needs to come in and do some tackling. Henderson upended by Robert Young. A gain of 3 on that play. Kirk Loudermilk telling us last night very candidly, you know, I've seen the young guys get fooled. Let's hope they can be fooled at least one more time with me in here.
That's number 63, Kurt Loudermilk, in the middle of your screen, going for Strickland. Kurt, get that arm off, get that arm in. Nice play. He stays with it, and he stays with it. You get past, still get the block. Even on the ground, he's still getting the block. A farmer in Ohio, Kurt Loudermilk.
2nd and 7. Allen, the ball carrier. Terry Allen doing the job that you would expect of a bigger back, but he is running hard. The guys continue to talk about the kind of heart that Terry Allen has, and he got a good set of blocking that time, enough for a scamper for the first down.
There he is, Kurt Loudermilk. Let's take a look at that last play again. Kurt Loudermilk, last play he had Strickland. This time he's just blocking up the middle. When you have big offensive linemen like McDaniel and Loudermilk, and they start to get on a roll, even though the defensive linemen aren't as big, the emotion is on the side of the offense, and they start to push you out, then you can run left or right.
Now, I mentioned that it was a first down, but you saw the spot there a little short as you take a look at George Dyer trying to come up with something defensively to stop it. Brings up a 3rd and inches. And Allen first down. The big red formation as McDaniel was in the backfield that time. Seems to pay dividends.
When we spoke with Larry Kelm, who was hurt today, he said when they run the big red formation and they have number 64, Randall McDaniel, in the backfield blocking, he says, I got to get low because I got to take on that lead block, and that's a big man.
Ball at the 12. Vikes have used up some time on the clock on this drive. First and 10. Allen bouncing off of tackles. Touchdown, Vikings, Terry Allen.
That's the duck walk. The Minnesota Viking touchdown, Terry Allen, duck walk.
Pat Terrell, the injured Ram, down on the field.
That's Terry Allen running to the right. The Rams defensive linemen are tired. They're tired of chasing. They're tired of fighting off blocks. Consequently, they don't tackle very well. They don't have their emotion into the game at this point. Touchdown, and we get to see Terry Allen do the Minnesota duck walk. I can see you doing that, JB.
Wouldn't look as pretty.
I've seen you dance. You're right there.
Definitely not as pretty. Terry Allen has been one very valuable man, and there's a very calm Chuck Knox on the sideline. And again, we talked at the beginning about him feeling the turnaround is on track, but he recognizes that it's going to take some growing pains, and this is a part of it. Pat Terrell was the guy, as I mentioned earlier, down for the Rams, getting up. He missed the tackle and was injured. Boy, it hasn't been a good day for the Rams, not on the scoreboard and certainly in terms of folks being nicked up and injured today.
Well, especially when they're trying to stop the run. You've got your middle linebacker, Sean Gilbert, one of your big young interior tackles are hurt. Consequently, of course, the Vikings are going to take advantage of it. That's what football is about. Find out something they cannot stop and give it to them over and over again, and they're getting it.
Roger Craig greeting Terry Allen on the sidelines there, encouraging him. Wyatt Reveille's on for the point after, and the Vikings out of the offensive slump ahead of the Rams by the score of 24-10. Minnesota doing the job today without that man, Chris Carter, who left in the first half with a fractured shoulder. Roger Craig, of course, out after arthroscopic surgery. And Chuck Knox knows full well, hey, not a whole lot I can do about it.
He's got a bunch of guys hurt on defense, and he's got some other guys that are pretty young, and they're undermanned and outmanned and being outplayed right now, especially on defense versus the run. They need to put some points up and get something going.
And that man there, at this point in the ball game, 14 carries for 60 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 9 receptions for 109 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, this guy is really doing the job. Also, they've upped it up to 110 yards, so gave him 1 more. What's the difference? 1 more yard. This guy's been doing it all afternoon. First and 10 for the Rams. Everett drills it complete to Henry Ellert for the first down. Up near the 35, Audrey McMillan on the stop. A 14-yard pass play from Everett to Ellert. 8:53 left in the third. Rams trailing by 14.
JB, look for the Vikings to tee off. They know they've got a lead. Everett is coming out throwing. He's throwing on first down. These guys are going to be coming. They're not thinking run now. They're thinking get to Everett, shut him down, put some knock on his head. This is the situation they like to play in.
And might very well play into the interception-happy defense of the Vikings. David Lang running hard up near the 39. A gain of 5 on a play by David Lang. Very interesting story with that young man. We had a chance to talk with him, a guy who, I guess you could say very candidly, could have gone down the wrong route when he was in college, had a little trouble, but was shocked straight and is glad to be playing in the professional ranks.
The Rams drafted him knowing he had some difficulty in college. He had to sort of go into a diversion program, which was which is like going to boot camp, and if you graduate from it, then you're okay. He graduated from it, and he's here with the Rams, playing very well, picked up 4 yards on first down.
Out of the eye, 2nd and 5. Everett comes back across the middle to Cleveland Gary. Did he hold on to it? Ram defense on the sideline. They're still trying to stay energetic and excited and in the ball game, although they're being spanked right now.
Well, they're saying we're still in this game, and they are still in this game. There's plenty of time. They can win it. They need to make some big plays. They need to shut down the run. The Ram offense has got to do just what they're doing, giving Everett time to pass the ball, and they certainly have done a good job in pass protection today. Move the ball, move the chains, get some points, let those defensive guys rest a bit.
Sack. Jack Del Rio, 2nd sack of the season for Del Rio.
That was a very interesting blitz by number 55, Jack Del Rio. If you can look on the right side of your screen, Chris Dolman goes into pass coverage, and Jack Del Rio rushes the pass. So they had an exchange of assignments, whereas Chris Dolman went into coverage, and Del Rio came on the blitz. Switch, and it worked.
Del Rio really having himself one whale of a season. New life in Minnesota. 2nd and 18 for the Rams. Incomplete. Jim Price trying to argue that he had it, did not trap it. Argument not bought. Anthony Parker right there.
Jim Price has had some difficulty dropping balls over the last couple of games. I know he's taken some heat from Coach Chuck Knox, who would have liked to have caught that. That would make the heat a little bit less. Not to mention not have them in the circumstance they are, where it's 3rd and very long yardage.
Specifically 3rd and 18. All at the 38. Everett has room to run. Jack Del Rio dropping him 5 yards short of the first down. A little disgusted look on the face of Chuck Knox.
When Everett drops back, he gets good protection. He has to step up. Now, Jack Del Rio sees him. Jack is kind of baiting him, going, come on, Everett, run. I'll let you pick up 8 or 9 yards, but I'll make sure I make the tackle short of the first down so we get the ball.
Now, there's a flag over on that side of the field, and it looks like, if we can read lips correctly, unsportsmanlike conduct. That certainly occurred well after the play. I know Everett got up a little disgusted, and it looked like he might have thrown the ball, but I thought he threw it at one of the guys on the sidelines as opposed to an official.
Well, official, let's hope he didn't throw it at Jack Del Rio, who might have launched him into the stands. There's a little frustration on the part of Everett, and of course on the part of Chuck Knox. Everett, things are just not working for him today. He took off running downfield, didn't get the first down. That's the same as, you know, if you're going to run, you got to get the first down. Otherwise, stay back and deliver the ball.
And it looked like he might have thrown it at the line judge, Dick McKenzie. And again, not a smart move, indicative of the frustrating afternoon that Everett feels. Squad trailing 24-10, 6:18 left in the third. Don Bracken has been a busy man this afternoon as he comes on for his 3rd punt. Make that his 4th punt of the afternoon as we take a look at Anthony Parker back at his own 25.
Chuck Knox is, I'm sure, not a happy man right now. He needs something to happen offensively to get his team excited, get them emotionally back in the game. Plus, Chuck knows that Minnesota's going to get the ball, and they haven't been successful shutting down that Minnesota run.
Bracken gets away a good one. Parker from the 23. And Parker runs into the back of his own man, Jake Reed, but he still falls ahead. 41-yard punt, 22-yard return. The deposed starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, Rich Gannon, very upset with his being put down, but how can he argue with the success that Sean Salisbury has had today? A lot of first starts for quarterbacks today. Sean Salisbury, the only one victorious. thus far. The other 3 have lost their NFL debut. Of course, Ken Graham lost on Thanksgiving when he was playing with the Giants. 4 wide receivers in for the Vikes. The Vikes keep it on the ground as Terry Allen picks up 2. I guess no secret here with 5:50 left in the ball game. Minnesota will certainly try to eat up as much clock as possible.
They're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And when the Rams come up, recognizing the fact that they've got to stop this run, look for play action over the top, big play downfield. The Rams are in a very difficult position. They've got to stop the run. Minnesota knows it. And I think we're going to see some play action.
There's Darren Nelson. You saw the graphic there. Allen first 100 yards receiving since Nelson did it in '83. And speaking of '83, Steve Jordan hauling in a nice pass. First down haul in inside the 30. A 27-yard pass play.
That's Ivy. He's big. He's got soft hands. He's a good blocker. Been around a while. We talked about the fact that with the play we're going to go downfield, not play action. Nonetheless, he still has plenty of time to deliver the ball. The defensive line, even though he didn't execute a play action move, is still thinking run. They were not thinking rush. They were not thinking rush to passer. Hence, he had plenty of time.
First and 10 from the eye. This is Hassan Jones in motion. Allen, the ball carry. And Allen ahead for about 3. You know, speaking of Steve Jordan, last year, 57 receptions. The Vikings' all-time leading receiver did not complain at all because coming into the game, only 15 receptions on the season, but I've never seen this guy complain at all. One classy guy.
Well, he doesn't complain. He, as you say, JP, he's a good man. But he recognizes, as does head coach Dennis Green, if they're going to do well in the playoffs, assuming they make it, they need his offensive addition.
2nd and 7. End around. This is Anthony Carter. Fumble! And it looks like the Rams have recovered. Kevin Green looks to have gotten certainly stripped it right here. We're talking about, look at nice.
With his backhand, he turns
move.
around, keeps his arm out there. Anthony Carter probably thought that he was past Kevin Green. Not so. That back's arm got the ball.
You are watching the National Football League on CBS Sports.
4:02 left in the 3rd. Minnesota on top 24-10. Kevin Green, 3rd forced fumble and 3rd fumble recovery of the season. 1st and 10 out of the eye. On the ground. And Cleveland Gary upended nicely by Henry Thomas. And Jack Burns, you saw the offensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings there behind the pole.
That's Jack
showing
right
a little
behind
razzle.
that pole. You might wonder, JP, why Jack Burns, who's hiding from us right now, would run 81 Anthony Carter on an end around with Chris Carter, his other receiver, hurt. The answer is, of course, when you're doing so well offensively, you go through your playbook and you try to figure, let's run this. We haven't had a chance to run that yet because everything's working. Of course, he's stripped of the ball, and the other Rams have it on offense.
2nd and 11. Complete to Gary. And Gary still about 7 yards shy of what was necessary for the first down. Only 4 yards gained on the play. Tough afternoon for Gary in the receiving department, and give a lot of credit to that Minnesota defense. .256 left in the 3rd. Rams trailing by 14. 4 wide receivers. Robert Del Pino in. The 3rd down back. Everett cocky. Intercepted. Give the credit to Anthony Parker. 2nd interception. Did they credit it? There is a flag on the play. We'll await the official call. And this is what I was mentioning before, George, with the Rams being put into a passing situation, plays right into the hands of the aggressive interception-happy Vikes defense.
Minnesota intercepted the pass, and after the interception, there was a face mask on the passing team, 5-yard penalty against number 80. Minnesota will retain the ball after the enforcement of the foul, first down.
That's Ellard going downfield. He makes a little break to the inside. This is number 27, Anthony Parker. Gets the interception. What's interesting about this is that Jim Everett had plenty of time to deliver the ball. He wasn't under any kind of pressure. That's Ellard with the face mask after the interception. Clearly a face mask.
Vikings with excellent field position, ball at the 24. This is Terry Allen. And Terry Allen scooting his way back inside the 20. There is a flag on the play as Terry Allen takes it ahead for a couple.
Boy, Terry Allen has had a long day today. Catching the ball, running the ball, inside, outside.
One he won't complain about at all.
It's nice to get some yards. That's what he's thinking. Good to have some offense, have the options of running inside, outside, catching a few passes.
Face mask on the defense, number 76. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Vikings just continue to add to their league leading total. First and 10 from the 13. Allen. And Allen inside the 10 down to about the 8. And boy, I talked about the left side of that offensive line being strong earlier, displaying it now. They're getting stronger as the game gets deeper.
Well, that's 65, Gary. We are looking at, of course, number 63, Kirk Loud, we've seen earlier, but that's 65, Zimmerman, 64, McDaniel. That center, left guard, left tackle group may be the best three lineman group in the NFL. And, of course, you are correct, JB, that offensive linemen do get stronger as the game goes on, especially when they get closer to the end zone where they are now.
It's like a running back. Second and 5. Henderson. Clear sailing. Touchdown. Vikings. Escorted in by Randall McDaniel.
We just spoke about the left side of the line. That, of course, is Dennis Green. There's Chuck Knox. Not a happy guy.
Well, the comment that Denny Green made at the top of the day is we're accustomed to running a high productivity offense. This is what he had in mind.
That's number 64, Randall McDaniel, with disdain. When you pull out, you don't even have to block him. You sort of give him a right arm shiver. So you like to walk in the end zone alongside that running back. It's like both of you scoring. That's what you feel when you're an offensive lineman. You run in, he runs in, you're standing side by side. Hey, you just want to do a dance with him. You want to do the duck walk.
And the point after by Reves is good.
That's McDaniel pushing Pfeiffer off with disdain. Athletic arrogance. Take another look at the touchdown. That's McDaniel, 64, coming out. One of the problems with the Rams linebackers, they're very small, they're very light. That's Roman Pfeiffer, just gets pushed by Randall McDaniel with his right hand. Number 58, Roman Zabinski Pfeiffer, is very, very light. Can't come up and make a play like that.
Mike Pagel may see some duty with the Rams trailing by 21 points, 31-10. 1:40 left in the third period of play. As Reves kicks off, a low one. Turner. Vernon Turner trying his best to break one as he takes it up to about the 24. So with 1:31 left in the third, Rams trailing 31-10. Mike Pagel, first-year player out of Arizona State, comes on as you take a look at Everett with an ice pack on that right knee of his. And boy, it's been that kind of a day for Rams players who have been dropping. And give a lot of credit to the hard hitting applied by the Vikings. Mike Pagel, his numbers coming in 1 of 3 for 10 yards on the season. And an excellent run across the 30 by Anthony Thompson, who finally is starting to see some light of day. That's only his second carry. Right now, let's carry you back to New York and Greg.
All right, James, and at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, watch Steve Young for Dexter Carter, 43 yards down the sideline, and the 49ers have opened up a 20-7 lead over the Eagles in the fourth quarter, JB.
All right, Greg, and San Francisco really showing why many folks expect them to be in the Super Bowl, doing the job against the Eagles. On second down, Anthony Thompson. Anthony Thompson with the first down run. So the ex-Cardinal, who was looking to show what he can do, has been doing it in practice, was just champing at the bit to get an opportunity here, and he's displaying what he in fact can do. Audrey McMillan, very slow getting up.
Well, he sure had a heck of a week last week. 3 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown.
NFC Defensive Player of the Week. That coming against the Cleveland Browns.
You know, with Mike Pagel in, is that Minnesota, it's difficult for them not to relax. You know, you want to maintain the same intensity, but you're way ahead in points. The main quarterback is out. The backup guy is in. Hard to maintain that same level of enthusiasm.
Well, I know who, if you will, collectively is enthusiastic. That's the defense of the Vikings. They're looking at an opportunity to get some more picks. 8 seconds left in the third. Mike Pagel started the final 2 years at Arizona State. Set 7 school records and was the first Sun Devils passer to throw for more than 2,000 yards. And he's in a tough situation here. Team trailing by 21 points.
21 points and second and long. He needs a running play. He needs to hand this ball off.
Second and 10 out of the eye. On the ground, Thompson. And Anthony Thompson is going to be about 4 yards shy. He picks up 6 on the play. And that's the end of the third quarter. Minnesota on top, 31-10. Our coverage will continue after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, Rich Gannon says he's taking a spot. That might be the shot for
Wake up, Rich,
Vikings.
wake up.
Say, hey, I know with the kind of game that Salisbury's had, this might be my position. And Denny Green made it emphatic when he said, I'm going with the guy. I sold to these guys. We're going to go with the best player. 47 guys on this team who can do it. If you aren't doing it, we're going to give somebody else a shot. And a first down pass thrown to Chadwick, Jeff Chadwick, from Mike Pagel. Only the second completion of young Mike's career.
You know, what Mike Pagel has got to sell his team on right now is you're down 31-10. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter. They pulled the #1 quarterback. I'm the backup guy, but we still can win this game. Mike Pagel, in his mind's eye, sees himself throwing 4 touchdown passes and pulling this out.
Well, he'll be a pretty big hero if he does that.
You got to think that way, though.
First and 10 from the 40. Pagel with time. Incomplete. There's a flag on the play. The intended receiver was Henry Eller.
And it was pushing down on that side of the field, whether it's offense or defense. We'll have to wait for the official call, but there was contact 20 yards downfield. Looks like it's against the Vikings.
Illegal contact by the defense, number 26. 5-yard penalty and automatic first down.
And that against Audrey McMillan, the 7th-year player out of Houston. NFC's leading interception guy, 7 on the season. .17 left in the ball game. First and 5 for the Rams out of the I formation. Pagel hands off to Thompson, who escapes 2 tacklers but does not get by Chris Dolman. Well, I guess we can go back to what might be a calm Greg Gumbel in New York.
I'm very calm, JB. At Candlestick Park in San Francisco, Randall Cunningham keeping the Eagles close. 11 yards to keep Byers. 20-14, 49ers. 8 minutes to play in the game, James.
All right, Greg, and I say a calm Greg Gumbel because, again, sitting in the middle and refereeing between Matt Millen and Terry Bradshaw, that's got to be pretty tough. So my hat's off to you, Greg.
Mr. Offense against Mr. Defense.
Pagel back to drop on second down. Throws it complete to Price. And that's for a first down near the 20. So Pagel coming in looking sharp. Now, George, again, you said he's got to think positive. He comes in and drills a 15-yard pass that time.
Absolutely. And there's Chris Dolman at the bottom of your screen. Chris hasn't doing much. He's kind of coasting, just gets ridden to the outside. Pagel delivers the ball downfield. What Dennis Green is thinking right now, hey, wait a minute, guys. We got a lead, but leads can evaporate, and certainly stranger things have happened in the NFL than this. Get your emotion back up. Get back in the game. Who should be sacking this kid?
First and 10, out of the eye. Thompson, tailback, and the ball carry. And Thompson running hard, run out of bounds by Jack Del Rio. 4 yards gained on the play. Jack Del Rio, you know, you mentioned earlier, and I guess it just underscores basic football as we look at Chris Dolman, who does not have a sack today. Jack Del Rio, as a middle linebacker, is supposed to be active in doing the job.
Well, Jack Del Rio is leading the team in sack tackles. He had 98 coming in, but of course, that's his job. The job of the defensive lineman is to use up all the blocks, freeing a middle linebacker to lead the team in sacks. Speaking of Chris Dolman not having any sacks, credit Gerald Perry, number 64, that left tackle. He's taken him out of the game so far.
Pagel on 2nd and 6. Touchdown strike to Jim Price. First touchdown throw for Mike Pagel.
This is what stories are made of. Now, right now, that man, number 11, Jim Everett, is thinking, I got a little boo-boo on my knee. I thought we were out of this game. I've taken myself out. He doesn't want Pagel to come in and throw 3 touchdowns to become today's hero. Right now, he's thinking, hey, wait a minute. We get back in this game. I'm going to all of a sudden feel better. I might want to come back on the field. Game doesn't work that way, and certainly Chuck Knox doesn't work that way. Pagel takes him down there and puts some points on the board. He's going to be the guy.
Zendejas with the point after. And as George Starke mentions, an excited Mike Pagel comes on. 31-17 Vikes.
This game summary is sponsored by McDonald's.
Statistically, it's been a very successful homecoming for Sean Salisbury. Terry Allen has certainly been a big weapon of his, and Minnesota leads at 31-17. Rams, 6 injuries in the game. They certainly have been falling. Mike Pagel has come on in relief of Jim Everett. Jim Everett has started 75 consecutive games, so Pagel certainly hasn't seen too much activity as a result. From the 5, Nelson. Darren Nelson takes it across the 25 to about the 26-yard line. And the Vikings will operate first and 10. 12:04 left in the game as we take a look at Mike Pagel, a guy who's in his 11th season in the pros, an original draft choice of the Baltimore coach. 4th round draft choice, 84th player. Boy, that's going back a ways.
He's a well-traveled quarterback. Been with the Colts. He's always been with Cleveland. So he's not a rookie. He's a mature vet. And if the Vikings can't get something going, they're not that far behind. The Rams could be back in this game.
Allen. Fumble. And it looks like the Rams may have recovered it. And it's Rams ball.
That's not a happy guy right there. Chuck Knox is thinking, maybe I got a shot at this. We got the ball back. As I said, JB, stranger things have happened. There's plenty of time left to go in this football. There's almost 12 minutes left in the 4th quarter. The ball just comes free. That's Terry Allen dropping the ball. Took a hit. That's number 91, Kevin Green, scrambling to get in there.
And it looks like Anthony Newman has collected his 2nd fumble recovery of the season. There's Newman underneath the pile, scooping it in. First and 10. Ball at the 32 of the Vikings. 11:56 left in the game. Minnesota on top, 31-17. The pitch to Thompson. And Anthony Thompson running hard for the first down to the 20. Terry Allen lost that one that time. That was number 6 on the season for Terry Allen, and he's lost all 6. You compare those numbers with Cleveland Gary. who's had to fight the reputation of being a fumbler because of the 12 the season before.
And the Vikings have made a living off other teams' turnovers, and now the same thing could be happening to them. The Rams have the ball back.
First and 10 from the 20. Pagel with time. Incomplete. Intended receiver was Jim Price. Well, Pagel certainly has done the job coming on, firing up a lethargic Rams offense.
There's Everett. Everett's thinking, maybe I should have stayed in this game. And that's Chris Dolman. What has happened to Chris Dolman? There is no pass rush at this point by the Minnesota front four. They know the Rams are going to run the football, and they're out of this game as pass rushers.
Second and 10. Thompson. First down. Seven carries for 51 yards in limited duty by Anthony Thompson.
Right now, the Rams have an option. They can run it or pass it. The Vikings think they're going to pass it. They don't. They cross them up. They run the football. That's Thompson running, kicking high, spinning, turning. They have completely turned the tables on the Vikings. They now can run and pass. What happened to the Minnesota defensive line?
First and goal, Thompson. And a gain of 1 by Thompson will bring up a second and goal, stopped by Henry Thomas. 10-14 left in the ball game.
JB, what we're talking about is not that the Minnesota defensive line can't play or that they're not trying hard. It's just what that old phrase about shift of momentum, shift of emotion. The Rams emotionally right now, offensively at least, are in the football game, and it's difficult to get it back when you put the game in your win column and the clock hasn't run out yet. The Minnesota defense thinks they've already won it, but they haven't won it. You have to play the whole 60 minutes. It's hard to get that emotion back when you kind of put it in the locker. They need to get it back.
Carlos Jenkins, linebacker for the Vikings, down on the turf. 10:09 remaining as Jenkins gets up, walking gingerly. There's Tony Dungy, the defensive coordinator for the Vikings, who has done simply a superb job this season. He has sold this defensive concept with quickness to these guys. They believe it. They've demonstrated it.
But they're undersized. They're very fast. They're nonstop. They're energetic. And they have to play at a high level of intensity because they're outmanned pound by pound at the line of scrimmage. So they all have to play with a lot of enthusiasm. Important for them to stay emotionally in this game, otherwise the Rams will be right back in it.
Van Waiters in to replace Carlos Jenkins. Second and goal from the 8. To Thompson. And Thompson slowed up initially by Chris Dolman, finished off by Ed McDaniel. And as a loss of 2 on the play.
Nice play by Chris Dolman. He reads it, and he gets out there, and Pagel just delivers the ball. As this should work, he's supposed to juke, make this man miss. Difficult to tackle a good back one-on-one in the open territory. Chris Dolman does it. Consequently, a loss.
9:15 and counting left in the ball game. 31-17. Vikes on top. Third and goal. Ball at the 9. Pagel had to get rid of it as Van Waiters was coming in on the blitz.
It looked like he wanted to get number 87, Mike Price, open in the end zone flat. Jim Price, excuse me, I'm saying Mike Price, sorry JB. Jim Price, number 87, he wanted to get him open in the end zone flat. Jim Price, in fact, was open. Mike Pagel just didn't see him. He looked like he had to throw the ball a little bit early. Not a touchdown.
So the Rams are going to go for it. 4th and goal. Ball at the 9. 6 defensive backs in for the Vikings. incomplete. Intended receiver was Jeff Chadwick. So the Vikings will take over. Ball at the 10.
I can't believe this. I think this is a mistake. Why go for this on 4th down? This is a mistake. If you get the touchdown, of course, that's great. But you're not down that many points. You put the 3 points up, that is 31-20. You're back in the game. That's not a good call by Chuck Knox.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering. AT&T, the right choice. And by MasterCard. Master the moment with a card that's accepted at nearly 10 million places worldwide.
Vikings take over at their own 10, 1st and 10, and keep it on the ground. And as we headed to commercial, George Starke, you were quite emphatic about that being a bad decision by Chuck Knox to go for it on 4th down, the touchdown, as opposed to the field goal.
The play to make was to take the 3 points. It's 31 Minnesota, 20 the Rams. You stop Minnesota here, you get the ball back. You've got almost 9 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Plenty of time to only be down 11 points. I mean, I've never seen in all of my years in pro football a play, a call like that to go for it on 4th down this early in the 4th quarter. Take the point.
I'd like to know his thinking, because that's from a guy who certainly usually is on top of the action. Allen turning the corner. Tackled out of bounds at the 13, a gain of 3 by Terry Allen. Warren Powers on the tackle. 8:09 and counting left in the ball game. Minnesota leading the Rams 31-17. So the Rams need 3 scores to do it. 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
And Minnesota can't sit on this, though, JP. There's still a lot of time, almost 8 minutes. Minnesota can't sit on this. They need to move the ball. Scoring would be nice, but they need at least to use up the clock and use up some field. They've got bad field position right now.
Steve Jordan in motion on 3rd and 7. Salisbury.
Salisbury. Now, we know that he doesn't like to roll, although we have seen him roll. He was effective late in the 1st half. He throws it out. Pass incomplete. Almost, though. Nice play, just out of bounds. I guess his feet would have been inbounds if they ruled that he had possession of the ball. They obviously did not. The Rams are now going to get the ball back. Chuck Knox has got to be thinking, I should have took that 3 points.
3rd punt of the afternoon by Newsom. And Vernon Turner will field it from his own 37. Reverses field. And a good job. Talk about where quickness shows up. That was an example of it by the Vikings. A 50-yard punt, a loss of 2 on the return. (31-17), Vikings on top of the Rams with 7:15 remaining. Cleveland Gary out of the game right now. We think it's a recurring problem with that ankle of his, and David Lang also out with a Charlie horse. So Chuck Knox has been managing with a depleted core, and his team still in the ball game, only down by 2 touchdowns, 31-17 with 7:15 left in the ball game. And George, again, I go back to the point, you think that Chuck Knox really squandered a golden opportunity to at least put 3 more points on the board, cutting into that deficit.
He should have put the 3 points up to cut into the deficit and put his team in a position to win. If they drive down here and score and get 7, I mean, they're still in a position to win.
On 1st and 10, Pagel. Incomplete, and there is a flag, a late hit. That time, a stupid hit applied by Van Waiters as Tim Lester tried to get to the ball. Well, I don't know what Waiters could have been thinking about, other than the fact that he just had a little too much adrenaline flowing.
Clearly a late hit, though. not a smart play. He's thinking that as he's walking back and forth right now, that something like this would lead to a Ram score, that he's going to have to walk off the field and face that man, Dennis Green. Not a pleasant thought.
And a report we get from the sidelines now, there is apparently nothing wrong with Cleveland Gary. Apparently a coach's decision. Chuck Knox to sit him down as Denny Green staying right with the action here. First and 10 from the 35. Hagel complete to Flipper Anderson, pushed out of bounds at the 40. A 5-yard pass play will bring up a 2nd and 5. This game is presented by authority of the National Football League, and this CBS telecast is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Los Angeles Rams and the National Football League is prohibited. James Brown along with George Starke here at Anaheim Stadium. 6:40 left in the ball game. Rams trailing 31-17, incomplete as Mike Pagel under pressure. Intended receiver was Pat Carter.
That was number 57, Mike Merriweather, who made the defensive play and held his hands up. He didn't want the official to think there was any interference.
Third down, 3rd and 5.
Oh, that's 54, Van Waders, who doesn't want any other penalties. Holding Pagel up, hup, hup. Don't fall, my friend. Don't want any late hit call.
I guess that's an indication of him being a quick learner. 3rd and 5. Rams 4 of 11 on 3rd down conversions, 4 receivers, and Chris Dolman smelling a sack. Got perhaps too quick a start if he wasn't pulled off.
If he wasn't pulled off, it might be an instance of Chris Dolman really just a little frustrated at not having, had any big plays today.
By the defense, number 56.
Coming into the game, he had 12 sacks. He has yet to get a sack today.
First down.
So that'll be 1st down for the Rams. That's really a lot of frustration. You saw Van Waders get a penalty and now Dolman get a penalty. They want to get back in the game. They recognize that they're the Vikings, that they're a fine defensive team. They shouldn't be having trouble with this Ram offense, but they are. Just a little frustration is what you're seeing.
Ball is positioned at the 45 of the Rams. 1st and 10. 6:35 left in the ball game. Reposition the football, a better spot that time by about maybe 3 inches.
You never know. Sometimes it comes down to inches. They say this is a game of inches. That 3 inches could be key.
Won't argue with you now. Pagel pumps. Going up top, looking for Flipper Anderson. Incomplete. No flags on the play. Audrey McMillan was right there as well. Next Sunday, there's regional action right here on CBS Sports. Games on tap include Detroit against Green Bay or Minnesota against Philadelphia. That's followed by Dallas against Denver or Washington against the New York Giants. And your day has to start, of course, with the NFL today at 12:30 Eastern Time, right here on CBS.
JP, Minnesota at Philadelphia got 2 big defensive greens, the big purple against the big green. A lot of intensity there. There'll be competition for bragging rights.
2nd and 10. Pagel. And Pagel throws a strike for the 1st down, complete to Jeff Chadwick. Pagel showing an awful lot of confidence coming on as a veteran, moving the offense. A 20-yard pass play. Ball is spotted at the 35 of the Vikings. Out of the shotgun, Pagel. Complete to Ellert for a 2nd 1st down. This one inside the 15. Carl Lee, the defender. A 23-yard pass play.
You've got to credit this Ram offensive line. Pagel is getting absolutely no pressure at this point, he has time to drop back, look downfield, look off one receiver, two receiver, and find guys open.
Pagel going to a second option, overthrows the intended receiver, Vernon Turner.
JB, we spoke earlier about that 3 points they didn't take. Now, had they taken that 3 points, it would be 31-20. They've moved down the field now. If nothing else would have happened, they would have taken 3. It would be 31-23. They'd be inching back. There's still 5.5 minutes left in the game. Things could have been different.
San Francisco 1st and 10 on the San Francisco 11. Philadelphia has closed to within 6. Good ball game going on down the road, or actually up the road. Incomplete. Jack Del Rio putting the pressure on Mike Pagel. The intended receiver was Flipper Anderson.
It looked as though Jack Del Rio actually might have hit Mike Pagel's arm on the release. Interesting about this is the Vikings don't like to blitz. They don't normally do that. It really says that their defensive line isn't getting there. We've got to put some pressure on this guy because he's picking us apart, so we'll come with a blitz.
Wow, 13-all ball game there, Buffalo and Indianapolis. And, of course, the note on that first game, we showed you San Francisco, Philadelphia. The 49ers win. They become the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Pagel. Interception by the Vikings, Vincey Glenn. Mike Pagel had been moving the Rams so well downfield, but this is what the Vikings defense is known for, the NFC leader in interceptions.
That was Dennis Green. You know, he could see a sigh of release. Vincey Glenn with the big play. That time, the Rams had maximum protection. The Vikings did blitz again. They picked them all up, so pressure wasn't the key. See, they're blitzing. Your tight ends are in. It's maximum pro. He had plenty of time. Just didn't see Mr. Glenn come underneath and make the interception. That's what the Vikings are famous for, turnover.
On the ground, Terry Allen. And now Vincey Glenn will be able to talk comfortably with his fellows in the secondary now that he picked up his first interception of the season.
That's Jim Everett looking a little bit down. You can't help but think that he's thinking, we almost got back in this game, that perhaps if I stayed in or coach hadn't pulled me, whatever the reason he's out, that it might have been different.
Or if that knee hadn't continued to give him problems. We saw the ice pack wrapped around that knee. 4:43 and counting left in the ball game, and the 49ers do in fact become the first team in the NFL to clinch a playoff spot with that victory over the Eagles. Salisbury to Allen. There was one guy, despite the 8-3 record of the Minnesota Vikings, that man there, Denny Green, who indicated the playoffs are not a shoe-in, and he underscored that because of the remaining schedule that the Vikings have. Not an easy road to hoe. And there's Tony Dungy, the architect of the Vikings defense. I tell you, I am certainly one big Tony Dungy fan. He has really done a magnificent job, and they really have been one offensive defense coming into the game today. You see the impressive numbers that Dungy's defense has put together.
Well, they've got 4 straight games with a TD. That's very impressive by your defense. 21 interceptions, 35 sacks, of course, 3rd in the NFC, and they haven't allowed a 300-yard passer or a 100-yard rusher all season. That notwithstanding, Tony Dungy, I'm sure, was biting his fingernails because his guys really in the second half and early in the first quarter haven't played with the level of intensity that he's used to.
And speaking of Tony Dungy, it was so interesting listening to Todd Scott and Carlos Jenkins talk about what a master he is, indicating he can stand around you, be around a group of guys for about an hour, and he can tell you every little habit that they all have.
And he's designed his defense to take advantage of each guy on that defense, his positives and his negatives. He's designed a one-gap defense. Each guy has one gap that is his to possess. Rather than getting 2-gap defenses or complicated defensive schemes, you have one assignment, if you do that, we collectively will have a good day, and that's what's been happening.
Rams with 2 timeouts remaining. Minnesota with the full complement of 3. Salisbury throws it complete to Joe Johnson. And we'll see where they spot the ball. And it's enough for a first down. Well, a very successful homecoming for Sean Salisbury, who talked again about a long route coming to his first NFL start, 4 years in the NFL, 2 up in Canada, and said he actually had to argue with his father trying to convince him to go to Canada, saying it would be a good thing, and it's panned out that way.
It's panned out, and he's taken a route from Canada back into the NFL that a lot of other very successful quarterbacks have made. Theismann, I played with him, started in Canada, Warren Moon.
Fumble! Rams indicate they've got it. We'll find out. Looks like the Vikings may have recovered.
You get the feeling that if the Rams really had gotten this fumble, they'd be a little more excited. Players kind of tell by their emotion there, hopping up and down, who's got the ball. Looks like Viking ball.
Mm-hmm.
Recovered by Minnesota.
3:45 and counting left in the ball game. So take a look at Terry Allen dropping
Terry Allen dropping the ball again. Gets stripped from him. He's thinking, God, not again, but the Vikings do get the ball back.
Allen comes out, Henderson in, 2nd and 9. Play action. Salisbury, incomplete. Intended receiver was Joe Johnson, who took a wicked hit the top of his head, but he's back up. For those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS and the game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. I'm James Brown along with George Starke. Our score, Minnesota on top of the Rams, 31-17 with 3:23 remaining. 60 Minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast and the Mountain Time Zone. Terry Allen, despite dropping the ball more times than he would care to, a very strong afternoon. Fake end around. Salisbury throws it to Henderson, who commits the mortal sin of starting to run with the ball before catching it. Well, I mentioned before that Denny Green did not consider the playoffs a shoe-in because of the remaining schedule. What is that remaining schedule, you may ask? Well, he's got some guys who certainly know how to play football coming up. Philadelphia's strong defense, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, at Pittsburgh, and Green Bay is playing well.
And emerging Green Bay. That's why they felt they had to win today, because you never know late in the year who's going to get hot, and he wanted to lock this up as early as possible. Didn't think these Rams would be as tough as they've turned out to be today.
4th punt of the afternoon for Harry Newsom. Vernon Turner back at his own 25. Newsom pushes him back to the 19. And I tell you, that quickness of the coverage unit of the Vikings did the job. A 53-yard punt by the NFC's leading punter and only a 6-yard return. Ronnie West on the tackle. And with the Vikings heading toward a victory with only 3:07 remaining, Minnesota will improve to 9-3, maintain the lead over the Green Bay Packers. And again, that cushion needed, according to Denny Green, going into the remaining part of the schedule.
What?
Today's game was produced by George Barris and directed by Craig the Butcher Silver. The associate director was Suzanne Smith, and the broadcast associate Ward Glassmeyer. The coordinating producer of the NFL today was Eric Mann. As Anthony Parker comes up with the interception, 3rd interception of the season for Anthony Parker. There is a flag on the play. Tony Dungy's group continuing to add to its interception total. The NFL Today was directed by Duke Struck. The senior producer of the NFL on CBS is Ed Gorin, and thanks to Gary Led and Steve Kleinfeld and Ronnie Fisher. Boy, a long afternoon for Chuck Knox.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm going to send you down to talk with Chuck later to find out why he decided not to go for the field goal.
I'm not sure I want to talk to Chuck. Chuck is not going to be in the best mood. You know, on that interception by Anthony Parker, it was a tipped ball, and as Todd Scott told us when we talked to him yesterday, that most balls that are intercepted in this league are either tips or overthrows.
And, you know, I find that interesting because I'm sure most people would think it's breaking in front.
That's right.
Of a receiver to get the ball.
He said that if you break in front of a receiver or assume you can break in front of a receiver, that you're going to get beat. That they're going to pump fake, you're going to come up, and they're going to go over the top. You know, it'll be a touchdown against you. What you want to do is let them catch the ball in front of you and be in a position to catch the tip or the overthrow. Good example there.
To Steve Jordan, incomplete. And Steve Jordan, knowing that the hit was coming, had 3 Rams around him, including Anthony Q. Newman.
Anthony Q. Newman. Now, how did he get that name Q, JB? We've worked that into the game. I'm trying to
I love it. Anthony Q. Newman. As a matter of fact, he said his father, an excellent pool shark, wanted to play at the famous pool hall in Chicago called the Q.
The Q. And he wanted to, guess right, that's exactly right. He wanted his son to be a pool shark, and so he gave him his middle name, Q. Anthony Q. Newman.
Said his father still plays a lot of pool up in the Pacific Northwest. This is Henderson on the carry. .240 and counting as Minnesota grinding out the clock and grinding out the action up in New York. Greg Gumbel.
All right, JB, it's over at San Francisco. The Eagles with 4th and 15 in 49er territory. Half a minute to play. The pass to Fred Barnett comes up about 1/3 of a yard shy. 49ers take over and hold on and clinch a playoff berth, 20-14, James.
All right, Greg. Boy, Gumbel's got some great eyes all the way from New York, 1/3 of a yard short. That's pretty good. Well, we're at the 2-minute mark here, Greg. 31-17, Minnesota on top of the Rams. We'll come back with the final 2 minutes after this. Well, I tell you, whenever the visiting team does well, you'll see them pull out the signs in the stadium like that. Anaheim, Rams territory, but Vikings fans everywhere as they pull out the signs.
We were down before the game, standing at that end of the end zone, and in addition to having their signs, they were urging the Vikings to practice the duck walk. As a matter of fact, our director, Das Butcher, was down there doing the duck walk in imitation.
Steve Jordan has the first down. Oh, it's Das Butcher, huh? Okay. All righty. Sean Salisbury went to dinner last night with the guy he played with at USC. One of his tackles, Mr. Lamb, O-Lamb, and also Larry Stewart, a good friend of his who writes for the LA Times, and they said he was remarkably calm. He was looking so much forward to getting out here today and showing folks that, hey, not only back in the high school years could I do it, I can do it now. I wanted this opportunity, and boy, did he capitalize on it.
He's done very well. Given an opportunity, it's nice to see someone step up to bat and do well, and he's certainly done that today. It's safe to say he's got the quarterback job. It's not going to make Rich Gannon happy, but Dennis Green says that in his system, the best man at the job will play, and that the backups have no less status than those that are playing, that he owes it to everybody to be treated equally, and everybody will have an opportunity, and it's what you do with your opportunity. And that's Mr. Gannon right there, who, you know, it's mixed emotions. You want the guy out there to do well because you want your team to win. On the other hand, you'd like to have the job back. And, you know, and Dennis Green is happy today, and Sean Salisbury's did a good job.
Denny Green defending his no-nonsense managerial approach to things, saying, hey, in a turnaround situation with a new staff, we've got to say what we mean and mean what we say. And in fact, Salisbury deserved the starting opportunity. Came in relief in 3 games, all victories. He said, I want to give him a shot today. And he, in fact, has jump-started the Minnesota Vikings offense to the tune of 31 points on the board. 31-17. Denny Green and the Vikings up in Chuck Knox's Rams. And we'll be back with more from Anaheim Stadium after this. So for George Starke, this is James Brown saying so long from Anaheim Stadium with a final score, Minnesota 31, the Rams 17. You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.